The weather is right for gardening, but if you're short on space, it can be difficult to get a garden going. We are joined right now by one of the owners of Armful of Flowers. We have Kelly Glover to go over some steps that you can take today and have a beautiful garden.
Yes, I'm so happy to be here again, guys. And yeah, I mean, being in Pittsburgh, sometimes it's intimidating to grow stuff, right?
If you are in the city and you have an urban garden, you don't really have a whole lot of space, but you want to have the beautiful flowers and colors.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it can be intimidating looking at your space. If you have a small backyard or if you have a patio or a porch, trying to find space to be able to kind of grow something that you can produce and actually use. So you can do container gardening, or you can also look at your backyards and kind of see what you can grow. I mean, I started this business with Jessica as like a small little cut flower garden in a tiny little space, and then it grew into now an urban flower farm on Mount Washington.
It's beautiful.
So, I mean, when you're looking at your space, you want to see, you know, whether or not you have backyard space, and if you do, what kind of soil do you have? You know, you can get soil tests done at Penn State Extension, which tells you like how nutrient rich your soil is, and it tells you kind of what amendments you need to add to it. You could do raised beds. I've also used pallets, and you can put little fabric on the bottom of the pallets and make like a makeshift raised bed.
That's wonderful.
But specifically for your patios, you can grow a lot more things than I think people realize.
Yeah.
So for example, you can grow tomatoes. We also have herbs, and we have edible flowers as well. And something that's really important when growing vegetables and things that you want to actually use and produce stuff off of is having good quality soil. You have to start with a good foundation.
So, okay, so in here, what do we have this mixture of? Because this looks very loose.
It's different than what you've probably seen, yeah.
Right.
So this is actually called pit moss. You can see it kind of below a little bit. But it's a really eco-friendly growing medium. It has lots of nutrients. It actually has something called fish emulsion, which sounds really scary, but plants love it. It's like their yummy bread and butter food. They just enjoy it so much. It has compost in there, and it's very well draining as well. So when you're container gardening, you want something that drains well, but also that retains moisture well, which this does both. And then you also want something that's nice and aerated and loose.
Right.
So when you put a young plant in there, it establishes itself in there, but then all those nutrients are going to keep it producing throughout the whole entire summer for you.
I know people at home can't understand, like, unless you felt it, it feels almost like air. Like it's so light and fluffy. All right, so with something like this, we need to also make sure that we have
support. Yeah, so
for the
support's
tomato
very
plant.
important, and each plant kind of has a little bit of a different type of style of taking care of it. So for example, with a vegetable plant like a tomato or peppers as well, you want to make sure you have a nice cage in there. And then you also want to make sure that you are properly planting them. So for example, when we're looking at this tomato plant here, and
you don't even need the gloves anymore.
Yeah, I should put them on. Why not? I know, I'm like so used to just digging right into the dirt. I know, we wanted to make sure your beautiful hands didn't get all messy.
I love these gloves.
So you can kind of join me if you want.
Yeah.
I actually brought some plants for you that are shade friendly, because I know your front porch has a lot of shade.
It has a lot of shade.
Absolutely, but not all these flowers that we have in here. So let's say you can only have like a couple flowers. You can also add stuff in there that you can use, like edible flowers, like violas, or I have this purple basil. This is more of a sun-loving plant. So let's go ahead. Okay, we're gonna take our little containers out, okay? And what you wanna do is you wanna make sure you're loosening that soil. You wanna loosen those roots. Yep, loosen. It seems kind of scary.
I don't know that I've ever done that
Oh my gosh,
before.
it's so important. So not only do we have nice loose soil in our pot, and it's okay if it falls apart, that's good. We want those roots to be nice and loose. Then when you dig your hole in there and you go ahead and plant them in, then with those loose roots, it has more of an opportunity to really soak into that soil and get established in there. So that way we're giving it the best chance it possibly can have. So essentially, you do that with the rest of the plants, and you have this beautiful planter. Now, when you're watering your plants, we want to make sure we're not using this like really strong water stream, okay? Yeah. Some people just take their hose over and they go, and sometimes maybe your husband doesn't think about that either. You want something that's very gentle.
How did you know?
I mean, I don't know, maybe intuition. But you want to take something like a watering can, like see how gentle that water is.
Yeah,
you don't want to like blast it. Exactly. So those are kind of the main steps to kind of get them planted, but when you're actually taking care of them, for example, let's say we have our herbs right here. You have a mixed herb planter. So I'm going to come down here and show you.
Because that's our basil. And
this is our basil.
This is a really nice way to start too.
Oh my gosh.
If you wanted a little
Yeah, if you want to make
garden.
cocktails, if you want some fresh basil and like an appetizer, like a prese salad. But you can't just like let it grow. You need to make sure you're maintaining it. So for example, with this guy here, you can see that there's a little bit of flowering starting to happen. When you see that happening, just take some sharp scissors or your fingers and just go ahead and trim them off, and that's going to encourage more beautiful blooms to come through. And then you can also do the same thing with edible flowers like these violas, which you can see are just beautiful.
And they're really expanding. But if you take off, if you like deadhead almost, if you take off some of the flowers that are blooming, more will
kind of come up. So it's like a cut and come again situation. So for example, on our farm, we have a lot of cut and come again flowers. So because we have such a small space, we want a plant that can produce a lot and can continue to produce over the summer. So things like zinnias, dahlias, marigolds, bachelor buttons, things like that. The more you cut them, the more they produce.
Well, this is beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Jess.
for having
This is
me.
lovely.
Yes.
Our thanks to Armful of Flowers for coming in today. You can find them in Mount Washington on Bigham Street.
Yay!